Join us as we begin unraveling the tangled story spawned by a son to cover up his own crimes, including one that cost his father's life.
I don't even know what's going on.
Like I said, I'm
not good, man.
What happened, Jake?
I've lied about a lot of things to you, but I did not, and I'm not going to change my story on that, never.
It was Monday morning, August the 28th in Alva, Florida, when the Lee County Sheriff's Office received a 911 call from an elderly man, Paul Hemmert. He had lost communications with his son, a retiree living in the community. Fearing that something had happened, he would ask for a wellness check to be made at the man's residence. Officers are dispatched to check on Brian at his home on Yellowwood Drive in a pleasant gated community. They're met by a friendly Jake Hemmert who has been working on his Harley-Davidson motorcycle in the home's garage. He's pleasant and lets the officers know that his dad is out of town on a hunting trip. He tells them that the last time he saw the man was when he dropped him off at the Punta Gorda airport. A 32-year-old man who had been recently working as a roofer. Jake had lived in Arizona until the past year, and he had racked up a string of petty crimes, including burglary, intimidation charges, and quite a few traffic offenses, trying to get a TikTok channel going where he documented his tearing down and rebuilding of his beloved motorcycle. Jake even welcomed the officers inside the home and allowed them to look around, showing them his father's room and the rest of the house. They saw everything except for one room, which had a heavy lock on the door. Jake explained that that was the room where his father kept his firearms locked up, and because of Jake's past, he was not allowed to have a key to it. The officers left and Jake went back to living his life. He seemed to be having a good time of it as well. Jake's TikTok channel hadn't really taken off that much, and he sure seemed to be having a good time. A check of Brian Hemmert's banking transactions clearly showed how it was happening. In a little over 3 months, some $23,000 had been pulled from Brian's accounts, and there had been some work done to transfer additional funds from his retirement plan. And rather than it being spent somewhere near his hunting destination, all of it seemed to be spent locally, near Alva, Florida. And Jake had also been selling things of his dad's on Facebook Marketplace, particularly tools, perhaps bringing in more than $2,000 in just a few transactions. And then there was this rather unusual clue. When officers tried to call Brian's phone, no one answered and voicemail never ended up with Brian calling them back. Once a search warrant was obtained to track the pings on Brian's phone, they could tell that the phone was taking calls from within the Hemmert home. There were just too many coincidences to rule out that something had befallen Brian Hemmert and that Jake was somehow involved and benefiting from it. They just didn't have concrete evidence. Detectives started making their presence known to Jake to apply some pressure, and eventually he was brought in on an outstanding warrant that had been lodged by Maricopa County, Arizona, sometime before Jake had moved to Florida. It gave them an opportunity to hold the man until Arizona decided whether to extradite or just waive the charges. Perhaps something would shake loose while Jake sat in the local jail. While Jake wasn't happy with being arrested on an out-of-state warrant, he was friendly to the deputy and the forensic worker who came to get prints from him.
Did the headpiece hurt?
Yeah.
Like compared to any, like the other ink?
The worst one so far, surprisingly, was like inside of here.
I hear that a lot.
That one was rough. The actual jawline, not the whole throat, but the actual like on the jawline.
Right there on the bone.
And then the head, once you get above like this point, you can feel your brain rattling into your skull, and that was pretty rough.
Yeah, I bet.
That and like upper armpit too was
Ooh.
pretty bad.
Yeah.
And like down like lower sternum.
There's been some thought into the timing of when Jake was arrested and how it could provide them with some extra time to get their resources together for a full search warrant on the Hemmert property. A hurricane was supposed to hit the area the next morning, but its path changed. While a disaster had been avoided, it had changed the availability of certain court functions.
Well, give you fair warning. I know the clerk of courts and all that's at least closed today.
It is.
What?
Because the storm.
Storm.
Every cop that I've talked to for the last 18 hours told me the exact opposite.
They just
thing.
closed it last night, though, at like 7 p.m.
So I've been in custody since 4 o'clock yesterday, and I'm not even going to get to see
They didn't close it till like 8 o'clock
Yeah.
last night. They started running across the bottom. So they didn't lie to you. They were
So-
just,
You gotta be
I just-
fucking kidding me. So I'm just stuck in jail for like the next 3 days?
Probably at least one, bro.
I don't even know what's going on.
You're
Like,
good. And like I said, I don't
I'm
know
not
why,
good,
man.
man.
I don't know anything. I don't even know
I am
what's
not
on the
okay
paper.
right now. I didn't even know how to warrant until yesterday afternoon. I've been pulled over like 5 times in Florida since 19. Nobody ever gave me any havoc on it.
Jake had also embellished his story to the detectives about where his dad had gone. Now, he added that his father had come back, then asked him to deliver him to a boat dock just up the coastline where he would be joining with a celebrity to go off and fight human trafficking in the Caribbean. It was obviously a tall tale. But listen as Detective Robert Patton sits down with Jake to discuss where his father went.
So, you told me the other day about his card. We found his bank card in your room. And you said, what? What were you supposed to use that card for? Paying bills? You said HOA is what you originally said. Okay. So, how much did you use that card?
A lot.
A lot. How much do you think you used it? And how many times do you think you used it?
Use it pretty much exclusively for the last couple months.
How many times? Take a guess. About 200. About 260. Does that sound about right?
Probably.
How much money?
30 grand.
Spend 30 grand money. What do you think I would say?
I don't think he cares.
Why do you think that?
Just like I said, I don't think he's coming back.
That kind of contradicts what everybody else has told us. Because, as you said, you had a stealing problem. That's why you went to jail when you were younger, at 19. Okay? But the one thing that people told us never give you is money, or access to money, because you had stolen so much growing up. Is that correct? That you had stolen a lot.
Absolutely, it's the one growing up. But I'm also the only person that has lived with him for the past 4 years. And I'm the only real person that he talks to on a daily basis for the last 4 years. So whoever that you're talking to that thinks that they know the situation doesn't have a relationship with him.
Jake is on the hook here, and Detective Patton starts talking about how they know where the money is going.
And you know, I mean, there's all sorts of pictures. I'm not gonna bring in all of them, but I mean, ATMs. I mean, you're pulling money like crazy. You're transferring the money. You said about 30 grand. Okay, that's a lot of money in a short period of time for somebody that just went out on a trip and is supposed to come back. To me, it seems like more that this trip that he went on, you know he's not coming back.
I'm pretty afraid he's not coming back, yes.
Right. Well, I think it's a little bit more than. I think you know he's not coming back.
I don't know for sure.
How many people have been over to your house in the since June? How many people have come over to the house?
I think 4 girls. And then 2 guys from Facebook Marketplace.
And don't forget about the guy that came over and sold you the weed. So, and we talked to the folks that had come over as well, selling your dad's tools. So, that too kind of suggests to me that you know you're selling off his tools.
Yeah. We had that conversation before he left. I'm supposed to sell everything in the garage.
So again, it kind of goes back to the fact that this trip, you knew he wasn't coming back.
I don't know why you keep making assumptions, sir.
Well, because obviously we've kind of done a little bit more of our homework, and we've been doing a little bit more research. Okay? You know that. We're not stupid. I mean, you know I've done a lot of research. Now, the question I have is, how far do you want to continue to go with this and tell us that you went on a trip when we know that's not true? There comes a time and a place, Jake, when we're going to have to actually acknowledge, admit, or explain what happened. You know that you know he didn't go on a trip. I know that. You know that. Okay? We know that's complete bullshit. Now, it's up to you what you want to do and explain. Explain to us what really happened. We can sit here and talk about all these other things, but the issue is at hand. You know you're not coming back because you know you never left. We know that. But the question is, what does Jake want to tell us happened?
Jake is caught in his own lies, and he knows it. Before he can squirm out of it and start another new lie, Detective Patton presses in.
I was so afraid to see the blood or anything. I put the pillow between his neck. I fired it one time. His body flinched and it was gone.
It's alright, Jake, clear it out.
The truth shall set you free. Put you out of the house. You know the lying's gotta stop. It's gotta be weighing on you. You know it's been tearing you up.
That's the whole truth. You can believe that or not, I don't fucking care. That man is all I had. And I would have never done this. This is what he wanted.
But you do understand that people are going to have a hard time believing they wanted him to shoot. You understand that. I know what you're telling me. It doesn't matter what I think, it doesn't matter. But you understand what other people think, right? I know. But I'm being honest with you. If I didn't say that to you,
I'm going to prison for a long time or forever regardless, now that I admitted that. Like, it doesn't matter, man. You know?
well, Jake, I mean, I understand that, but you understand everything else.
I don't care what anybody else thinks. It's like, it doesn't matter, man. It's all I had.
Is there anything else that you've told me? Anything else you want to change? Anything?
Well, it was all a lie until 5 minutes ago.
I know. I'm just saying,
What?
is there anything else? I'm just asking. Is there anything else? Anything else you want to get off your chest?
Jake's lies continued, though. He would tell the detective that the plan, after assisting his father to move on, he would take the freezer and his dad, per Brian's wishes, out west, rent an Airbnb, and then cremate the man's remains and spread his ashes on Mount St. Helens, a place he claimed his father had been when the volcano erupted in 1980. Jake Emmert would eventually plead no contest and be found guilty of second-degree murder with a firearm, tampering with evidence, abuse of a human body, and fraudulent use of a credit card. He was sentenced to 30 years in prison with a mandatory minimum of 25 years in prison. Upon release, he will be required to go through 10 years of parole.